ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेद विभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरि ओम। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। Let's take a sankalp. Okay, so we are looking at Gnyaana Yoga, and we saw that Gnyaana Yoga has threefold exercises. First is Shravanam, then Mananam, and Nididhyaasanam. So we've already seen Shravanam and Mananam. Shravanam was listening to the Guru, but then there were certain conditions. We said that Shravanam means listening consistently, means every day, daily practice, whatever little time, but it should be done consistently and for a length of time and from a competent Guru. That is Shravanam, listening to the scriptures and removing our ignorance. Then comes the Mananam part. Once the Shravanam part is done, so it's not like the entire Shravanam, but whatever little Shravanam is done, say one class we listen to, we go back and do Mananam on this. I had given that example of the cattle chewing the grass, right? They munch on everything, all the grass that they can get, and then whenever they have time, they like leisurely sit and then they chew it to absorb all the nutrients, to assimilate it. That's what we have to do in Mananam. We have to revisit our studies, revisit whatever we have, notes we have made, or maybe listen to it again and inquire, analyze. And Mananam is the part where all our doubts have to be resolved. Mananam is the part where we get conviction. And only when we are convinced about our study, only then we can actually assimilate what we are learning, right? If we are not convinced, then kuch nahi ho sakta. So that is Shravanam and Mananam. Now we might wonder कि knowledge भी मिल गया, Shravanam में knowledge भी मिल गया, मननम में डाउट्स भी रिजॉल्व हो गए, तो नॉलेज भी मिल गया और डाउट्स भी रिजॉल्व हो गए, तो फिर ये थर्ड एक्सरसाइज निदिध्यासनम, उसकी क्या जरूरत है? Why is that exercise necessary? But trust me, without Nididhyaasanam, the first two exercises are futile. See, because knowledge up until now is mostly only at the surface level. It is only information, and information cannot bring about any transformation. It needs to be assimilated. It needs to be absorbed and digested. It should actually become a part of you, just like the digested food, right? Digested food is no different from you, right? It has become you only. You can't say that this is food and this is me. Right? Whatever food is digested, उसको हम अलग नहीं कर सकते कि ये मेरा खाना है और ये मैं हूँ. That food has become you. Correct? The same way, assimilated knowledge means the knowledge which has become you. It is no different from you. It is no different from your nature, from your personality. So it is this third exercise, Nididhyaasanam, which is the process of internalization or assimilation of the knowledge. And very important part, it is this Nididhyaasanam process which helps in removal of our habitual tendencies. We have developed our current habits and habitual thinking also. So that we have developed gradually over so many years. In fact, over so many janmas also, right? It is a habit, it is a conditioning, and we have to now decondition ourselves from those old thinking habits. This deconditioning, removal of the viparita bhavana, the habitual patterns, the habitual tendencies, that is called Nididhyaasanam. And this process, it's Nididhyaasanam or assimilation. It is only through this process that this habitual behavior goes away, and then we get the full benefit of this knowledge. So if we do not change our habitual thinking patterns only, कि हम श्रवणम कर रहे हैं, हम बहुत सारा मननम भी कर रहे हैं, पर हमारे जो थॉट पैटर्न्स है, हमारे जो हैबिचुअल पैटर्न्स है, वो ही हम रिपीट कर रहे हैं, तो क्या होगा पता है? There's this very funny story that Paramarthananda ji often repeats. So a Ram Leela was being performed, okay? And in the Ram Leela, the guy who was playing the role of Dashrath, he was actually a barber. So he used to cut hair and shave beards as his day job. That was his day job. And he got the role of Dashrath in the Ram Leela. Now, they had been practicing, they had been rehearsing for so many days, okay? And they were all doing very well. So, एकदम बहुत दिनों तक प्रैक्टिस किया, रिहर्सल किया, और फाइनली द परफॉर्मेंस नाइट केम. Now the barber was dressed as Dashrath in royal costumes and everything, and he had like memorized the dialogues to the T. There was no chance of any flaw. एकदम ही properly practice किया था. So this barber, he was in royal costume, seated on his throne, and in his court, the actor who plays Rishi Vishwamitra, he comes. Okay. Now he comes in the court to ask for Rama's help. Remember, he had come because he wanted to protect the rishis, protect the yagnas. So he had come to ask for Rama's help. Now Vishwamitra is a sage. So he had like a really long beard and long hair and all that. Okay. So now as soon as this actor who is playing Vishwamitra, as soon as he comes in the court, our king Dashrath, he immediately gets up from his seat to welcome the sage. And now, instead of saying that, welcome Maharishi, please have a seat, or how can I serve you, O great Rishi? Instead of saying all that, Dashrath says that, welcome sir, please have a seat. What can I do for you? Cutting or shaving? Dashrath said, what can I do for you? Cutting or shaving? So just out of habit, this is what happens. Itna rehearsal kiya, itna practice kiya, fir bhi the Dashrath in him disappeared and the barber in him appeared. In spite of so much rehearsal also, at the most crucial time, at the final night of performance, the Dashrath thinking pattern disappears and the habitual barber pattern, barber thinking pattern comes out. That is what happens to us all the time. For so many years, so many janmas, we have been samsaris. We have been ignorant people. We have been slaves of our desires, slaves of our shadvairis, and that personality has influenced everything, our responses, our goals, everything in our lives has been governed by the wrong idea of ourselves. कि मैं क्या हूँ, मेरे goals क्या है, and so how we behave, it depends upon how we look at ourselves. Every behavior of ours, it depends on our self-image. It depends on what I think of myself, right? And as long as I have a miserable self-image, our behavior also will be miserable only. So even if a guru, okay, he shows us that actually this is a miserable false self-image. जो तुम तुम्हारे बारे में सोच रहे हो, ये जो संसार, it's a miserable false self-image. So even if the ignorance is removed through Shravanam, even if there are no doubts remaining, and the knowledge is absolutely clear at the end of Mananam, yet the old self-image, it still continues for a length of time. The barber in us, it remains in spite of us knowing that we are Dasharatha. So for a long time, it remains. And therefore, we require that time to allow the transformation to take place. And this process is called Nididhyaasanam. So in Nididhyaasanam, even after we have done the Shravanam, even after we have done the Mananam, we have to be in constant touch with the Shastra. So even though the study part is over, we still keep in touch with the Shastram. We keep in touch with the Jnanis, we do satsang, we keep in touch with wise people. And satsang or Shastra Sang, because association, like we know that association influences our personality. Our company really influences our behavior and habits. If we roam about with alcoholics all the time, someday there is a chance that we also might start, right? So, but if we roam about with intellectuals, we too will start thinking. And if we roam about with Jnanis, if we roam around with Shastra Jnanis, we too will have a similar thinking environment. So, Nididhyaasanam is very important. Now, how can Nididhyaasanam be done? Shravanam to हमें मालूम है कि हमें सुनना है या हमें पढ़ना है, and मननम भी हमें मालूम है, notes refer करना है, doubts clear करना है. Nididhyaasanam can be done in many ways. See, firstly, we can take up one value or one mantra or one concept or maybe one Mahavakya. Mahavakya, there are Mahavakyas in the Shastras like Aham Brahmasmi, like Tattvam Asi. They are all called Mahavakyas. So we can, after understanding, we can take up one Mahavakya or one mantra or one value and meditate upon that in solitude with a relaxed state of mind. Just like the transformation meditation that we had seen in Upasana Yoga. Remember the last stage, the transformation meditation, the refinement meditation. वैसे ही करके जिस चीज का हमने मनन किया है, जिस चीज का हमने श्रवणम किया है, उसी पे contemplate करो, meditate करो. Try to assimilate it. And then say 5 minutes every day you have dedicated for this meditation. Whichever value meditation ho, you're meditating on a mantra or on a Mahavakya, 5 minutes you have dedicated to it. That every day I will sit no matter what. Then what happens after that 5 minute, let that value, that concept or whatever you have done your Nididhyaasanam on, let that be at the back of our minds throughout our waking hours. फिर हम जो भी chores कर रहे हैं, let that idea be at the back of our minds. That is one way of doing Nididhyaasanam. Again, Nididhyaasanam could also be done by going on repeating stotrams like Bhaja Govindam. Bhaja Govindam, if you learn it, if you repeat it again and again, those ideas, those values, they will stay in you. Or Nirvana Shatakam. I'm just giving you as an example, stotrams like Bhaja Govindam or Nirvana Shatakam. Nirvana Shatakam, if you go on repeating it with understanding, contemplating on their meaning, it's an amazing way to do Nididhyaasanam. Or just mentally repeating Satchid Ananda Rupoham. Aham Satchid Ananda Brahmasmi. Mentally repeating it with clear understanding. The clarity part, the understanding part, that should be done in Shravanam and Mananam. Yahan pe repeat karna hai. You have to strengthen it. So, like I have told you before also, just making a rule of sitting for 5 minutes and doing deliberate Nididhyaasanam brings a huge transformation before we even know about it, before we even realize. Just 5 minutes every day, no, it will change your thinking patterns. And also, you don't need to wait for the entire study or entire Shravanam or entire Mananam to get over. Okay. ऐसे नहीं सोचना है कि नहीं अभी तो सिर्फ इंट्रोडक्शन चल रहा है. I mean, let me finish the Bhagavad Gita, let me finish the Upanishads, then I will start doing Nididhyaasanam. No, whatever you have studied, whatever you are absolutely convinced about, clear about, no doubts, start doing Nididhyaasanam on those things. Start meditating on those things and assimilate it. So you can start it right now, right away. You don't need to wait. And also another way to do Nididhyaasanam is repeated Shravanam of already studied concepts. Repeatedly listening to the classes, repeatedly studying our notes and thinking about what we have learned in the class throughout the day. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, jitna time hum de sakte hai, do repeated Shravanam, go through the notes, and then throughout the day, keep thinking about those ideas. Just keep bringing those ideas, punctuate your day to the same kind of thinking. So this also becomes a very good way of Nididhyaasanam. And it becomes effortless. You don't need to leave your house, leave your duties, nothing. 5 minutes, 10 minutes to hum de hi sakte hai na. We can start with that. So this repetition, again and again, constantly repeating this study in our minds, what that does, it overrides the old habitual patterns. The rewiring happens of the neural connections. New neural connections are formed. So the old habitual patterns are overwritten with new patterns which are based on the study, which are based on the Shastras, which are based on the absolute reality. So also including important mantras. We have been speaking about the importance of mantras all the time. So including important mantras with understanding in our prayers. और दूसरा ना एक बहुत अच्छा तरीका हम यूज कर सकते हैं. In our sankalpas, we can include important concepts. That could become a very good form of Nididhyaasanam. See, for example, if our daily sankalpa, okay, or our daily prayer, जैसे नहाने के बाद, if we 5 minutes, if we are dedicating कि भगवान के सामने, we are just praying, okay? At that time, we can make a daily sankalpa like, oh God, please give me vivek, vairagya, then mano nigraha. Do you remember? Sadhana chatushtayam, shamadhi shatka sampatti. So we can ask for those kind of things that, oh God, give me nitya anitya vastu vivek. Oh God, give me vairagya. Give me mano nigraha. Give me indriya nigraha. Then give me uparama, titiksha, shraddha and samadhanam. Give me mumukshutvam. So when you are constantly repeating these kind of sankalpas, we are strengthening those patterns. So what is happening? We are every day in our daily prayers, we are saying, okay, give me viveka. So you are reinforcing that thing about, okay, I need to have a nitya anitya vastu viveka. I need to have that discrimination. Give me mano nigraha. So your mind is getting that message again and again, every single day in your prayers. Okay, mano nigraha. Okay, indriya nigraha. So that is another way in which you can do Nididhyaasanam. Instead of asking for worldly things, which anyways you're going to get, you can ask for these things. Or along with that also, you can ask for these things. If our prayers say that, oh God, give me ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, aparigraha, then what happens? All the 5 yamas, they are at the tip of your tongue. And every day you are repeating, give me ahimsa, give me satya, give me asteya. It is strengthening it. It's becoming a part of you. It's no more, you don't have to access it, from somewhere. It becomes a part of you naturally. So same way, like you can ask for, oh God, free me from kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. Free me from these shadvairis. So this prayer or this sankalpa, they get repeated every day and for so many days. So you see what is happening, right? It becomes a Nididhyaasanam. You are doing Nididhyaasanam on the yamas, on the shadvairis. Okay? तो ये भी एक अच्छा तरीका हो सकता है निदिध्यासनम करने का. And along with all these different practices of Nididhyaasanam, we should lead an alert life. Awareness at all times, monitoring every response to every situation. And making sure that every response in every situation is governed by the new teaching. It is not like governed by the misunderstood old personality. It is not governed by your shadvairis. It is not a reaction. It is a well thought of response which comes through your learning. Whatever you have learned in your Shravanam and Mananam. तो वो एक alert life consciously जीने की कोशिश करनी है. Like, so no more instinctive reactions. No more shouting back when someone shouts at you. No more blasting the subordinates when they do not do the expected job. No more getting depressed in loss or failure. So, no instinctive reactions like animals. Instead, we respond to the situation based on the knowledge that we have gained. So, we no more let the barbar habits overpower the new Dashratha habits. Hai na? So remember this story. It's even if we remember this story, it becomes again much easier to relate. That we have to let the barbar habits go when we are performing the Dashratha role. And if we put consistent and deliberate efforts in implementing and learning, then this will surely happen. Okay. 1 second, this question. Okay, even the corporate world is, right, even the corporate world is talking about mindfulness currently. True. ठीक है. So that is Nididhyaasanam. So this Nididhyaasanam, it is the assimilation process. And this assimilated knowledge alone nourishes me. Just like assimilated food alone nourishes me. It is not the amount of food that I eat that matters, but the amount of food that I digest, that alone matters. हम कितना भी खाना खा ले, पर अगर वो डाइजेस्ट ही नहीं हुआ तो उसके न्यूट्रिएंट्स अब्सॉर्ब ही नहीं होंगे. Then it's no point, right? So it is the amount of food that I digest that alone matters. That is why Swami Chinmayananda ji, he puts it wonderfully, okay? So कोई उनको बता रहा होगा कि मैंने है ना like I have gone through 10 Upanishads, okay? So he was like, wow, wonderful, wonderful. You have gone through 10 Upanishads, very good. But how many Upanishads have gone through you? That is the question. हमने 10 उपनिषद खा लिए, लेकिन पचाया कितना? How many Upanishads have gone through you? So, Nididhyaasanam. It is Nididhyaasanam through which you assimilate all the knowledge. भगवद गीता किया, उपनिषद्स पढ़े, सब कुछ किया, पर assimilate करेंगे वो निदिध्यासन से होगा. Now this Nididhyaasanam, it has one more advantage also. अब एक बार ज्ञान प्राप्ति हो गई, okay? And even after the knowledge is assimilated, okay, through Nididhyaasanam done for a length of time. तो उसके बाद तो it's okay, then we no more need to do Nididhyaasanam, right? क्योंकि ज्ञान निष्ठा भी मिल गई. So the knowledge is absolutely firmly, unshakably established. कुछ भी हो जाए, now we do not go back to the former wrong image. But even after that, the Jnani still continues with Nididhyaasanam if he wants to. Because this Nididhyaasanam, after knowledge, this Nididhyaasanam, it gives immense happiness. And soaked in this happiness, a Jnani can totally enjoy his Jivan Mukti. And while enjoying his Jivan Mukti, he can face his Prarabdha Karma. Matlab, whatever his past Karma Phala has to offer to him, he can keep on experiencing them, और वो भी उसको diluted लगेगा, because the person is completely immersed in the joy of Jivan Mukti. जैसे if we are in a very, very happy situation, तो कोई चोट भी लग गई, कोई ये भी हो गया, तो it will not matter. But if you are already in a depressed situation and all, तो थोड़ा सा चीज भी magnify होके, it will feel really bad. So he can totally enjoy this Nididhyaasanam. Okay, so even after the Jnana Nishtha happens, we can still continue with our Nididhyaasanam. So Shravanam plus Mananam plus Nididhyaasanam. That is Jnana Yoga. Okay? And this Jnana Yoga, that will give us self-knowledge, Atma Jnanam, and this Atma Jnanam is what gives us moksha, liberation. And out of all the 3 sadhanas that we have seen, Jnana Yoga is the subtlemost. It is the subtlest form of sadhana. Just 1 second. Just 1 second, sorry. All right. So we have seen the 3 sadhanas: Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, and Jnana Yoga. Karma Yoga means doing Nishkama Karma with Ishvara Arpana and Prasad Bhavana. Remember this. This also you can just repeat every day. Karma Yoga. I have to do Nishkama Karma with Ishvara Arpana and Prasad Bhavana. Then we saw Upasana Yoga. Upasana Yoga means disciplining the Kayika, Vachika, and manasa aspect of our personality. Remember, the kayika ansha was all about moderation, moderating the quality and quantity of all that we do, of food, activity, and rest. Then vachika ansha. Vachika ansha, anything that we speak should be anudvegakaram vakyam, satyam, priyam, and hitam. And then we saw the manasa amsha, the mental aspect of our personality, how to discipline that through the different kind of meditations. And then we saw Gnyaana Yoga. Gnyaana Yoga is doing Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyaasanam with Purna Nishtha. Gnyaana Yoga is nothing but Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyaasanam. You have to remember these three words. And a very important thing to remember is that all these three yogas, no, Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, and Gnana Yoga, all these three are compulsory for all people. For all the seekers of moksha, all these three yogas are compulsory. They are not given as optional yoga. ये बहुत ही बड़ा misconception है लोगों में कि we can go through karma yoga marg also we can achieve moksha, or if only upasana yoga marg se bhi moksha mil sakta hai, gnana yoga. The idea is, if you want moksha, you have to go through these three steps compulsorily. They are not optional. तीनों भी करने ही पड़ेंगे. Everyone requires to go through all of them. And the culmination is in self-knowledge, which gives moksha. Okay, and if at all there is a person who comes to Gnana Yoga without doing Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga, he cannot be successful. It is like directly going to MBBS without doing junior KG, senior KG, first standard. Okay, so in general cases, it is that person will not be successful. Okay. So this is the process in which you have to go through. In extremely exceptional cases, okay, there are exceptional cases also. If at all a person skips karma and upasana yoga, and yet we see that this person successfully gains jnanam, कि इसने जिंदगी में कभी कर्म योग नहीं किया, उपासना योग नहीं किया, still this person has been able to successfully gain jnanam. That means he or she must have gone through both the preparatory sadhanas. Which are the preparatory sadhanas? Karma yoga and upasana yoga. So this person would have gone through these preparatory sadhanas in the past janma. You can't prove it, but it's just like we see some very young whiz kids, right? They're doing their masters or becoming doctors at such a young age, right? In their teens, we see whiz kids like that all the time. We see child prodigies in different fields all the time, right? In music, in math, we see math geniuses. So these kids, they have really gained that knowledge, and the Sukshma Sharira, it continues through different janmas. When we, in a few sessions, we are going to look at the different Shariras, we'll come to know that these things continues. They are stored in the Chitta. They continue through janmas. They become your samskaras. These samskaras, they continue. And hence, if the preparatory practices are done with full dedication, say in this janma, and for some reason, we do not reach moksha in this janma, whatever we have studied is not lost. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, he confirms that chinta mat karo. तुमने जिधर से भी छोड़ा है, you just have to pick up the string from there and you will continue. It's not that, whatever preparation is done, if say I die tomorrow, it's all a waste. No, it will stay. He really assures that in the Bhagavad Gita. I don't remember the verse number right now. I'll send it on the group. So, whether in the past janma or in the present janma, a person should go through all these 3 yogas in order to achieve moksha, in order to attain the final purushartha. And here I just want to add a little note that, see, now that all the 3 sadhanas, we know that they are very important. But always remember one thing, that, see, this is really important to know because we make this mistake all the time. It is really important to remember that not to take these sadhanas as some huge mammoth task on your head, okay? Don't be under any pressure while practicing your sadhanas. कि oh God, like मैं बहुत सब लोगों से सुनती हूँ कि oh God, अभी तो बहुत कुछ करना बाकी है, जल्दी जल्दी करना पड़ेगा, परफेक्टली करना पड़ेगा, ये भी करना पड़ेगा, ये भी करना पड़ेगा. और फिर क्या करते हैं कि ये भी करना है, ये भी करना है, ये भी करना है. इतना बड़ा प्रेशर सर पे रखते हैं ना, तो धाड़ धाड़ करके पूजा खत्म कर देते हैं, कुछ भी ब्लैबर करके पारायणम खत्म कर देते हैं, 4 काम करते करते मल्टीटास्किंग श्रवणम कर लेते हैं. No, don't fall in that trap, okay? Do whatever you can calmly, without any pressure. रोज थोड़ा थोड़ा इंक्रीज करो, कर सकते हो तो कंसिस्टेंसी मेंटेन करो. दैट इज इंपॉर्टेंट. दैट इज व्हाई आई एम टेलिंग यू, 5 मिनट भी करो, नो प्रॉब्लम. कंसिस्टेंसी मेंटेन करो. And most importantly, totally relax, okay? Enjoy your sadhanas. Enjoy this process of moving towards self-knowledge. Don't take it on your head. Feel happy about your progress. कि तुम थोड़ा थोड़ा, like, look back at yourself, like maybe, 1 year back where you were and where you are today. Feel happy about, even if it is a little progress, feel happy about that. Never condemn yourself for the times when you are not able to align with the teaching. Hota hai. It's like I've told you so many times, Duryodhana himself is such a learned fellow. He could not, because of the pressure, the momentum of the ragas, the momentum of the Shadvairis, he could not, in spite of knowing the truth, he couldn't align himself with it, right? So don't condemn yourself. Treat yourself like your own little baby. Okay, love yourself. Treat yourself with love, because you are also part of this Vishwarupa Ishvara, no? You are not different from Ishvara. So love yourself. If you take these sadhanas on your head as one more task, then the whole purpose is only defeated. The sadhanas are there to free you from the samsara, no? Not to add one more job to the already existing complexities and chaos, है ना? तो ये चीज याद रखना बहुत जरूरी है. Enjoy your sadhanas. ठीक है? Don't take them lightly, don't take them for granted, but don't take them as pressure on your head, okay? Also, all these 3 sadhanas, they are not watertight compartments, okay? We don't need to finish one and then go to the next. It is not like that. Just that there is a domination of one sadhana in a particular stage of life. So now, after studying all these 3 sadhanas, all these 3 yogas, if we again go back to the ashrama scheme, remember the 4 ashramas we had studied? Brahmacharya ashram, Grihastha ashram, Vanaprastha ashram, and Sannyasa ashram. So after knowing these 3 sadhanas, if we go back, then we'll see that all these 4 ashrams, no, they are actually designed for the pursuit of these 3 yogas only, these 3 sadhanas only. Brahmacharya ashram mein kya hota hai? Primarily, you study the Shastras. Study what is life, what is the life goal, what are the Dharma Shastras. So Brahmacharya ashram is study oriented. While the other three ashramas, they are predominantly meant for practicing these three yogas. Grihastha ashram, it is karma yoga pradhan. Means karma yoga is the predominant activity in, it is the predominant sadhana when you are in grihastha ashram. Then vanaprastha ashram mein upasana yoga, vanaprastha ashram is upasana yoga pradhan. Means upasana yoga should be the predominant activity when you are in vanaprastha ashram. And sannyasa ashram is gnana yoga pradhan. You practice gnana yoga. So these, the three different infrastructures which are presented, they are for predominantly practicing these three sadhanas, these three yogas. Okay. Now, it is okay. We don't need to go through all these four ashramas physically. कि अच्छा चलो पहले 25 साल मुझे गुरुकुल में जाके रहना है. अभी गृहस्थ आश्रम. Now I am 50, so I have to enter vanaprastha ashram. I have to leave my house and this and that. No, you don't need to physically go through all the ashrams compulsorily. That is okay. But cognitively, mentally, you definitely have to go through all these four ashrams. Whether you physically do it or not, that is up to you. But cognitively, you have to go through grihastha ashram, you have to go through vanaprastha, you have to go through sannyas. That means we have to make those appropriate modifications in our lifestyle in order to make it sadhana pradhan, depending on which yoga we are predominantly practicing right now. So every action in our life, it should revolve around our sadhana. मतलब अगर अभी हमारा जीवन ज्ञान योग प्रधान है, suppose, that is, if jnana yoga is our predominant sadhana, then our main activities throughout the day, it should be only shravanam, mananam, nididhyaasanam. वो ही अपना दिनचर्या होना चाहिए, सिर्फ श्रवणम, मननम, निदिध्यासनम, if Gnana Yoga is your predominant sadhana currently. So, Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyaasanam karne ke baad, whatever little time remains, that you can use for your other necessary activities. But your day should have only this as the main activity. Now, if you feel that, no, I'm not ready for that yet. I mean, I can't leave all my other activities and just keep doing Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyaasanam throughout the day. If you feel that you're not ready for that yet, that is absolutely okay. We can surely live a life karma yoga pradhan till we get the preparedness for making Gnana Yoga as our predominant sadhana. So, you analyze your life and you bring about which is your predominant sadhana. You can keep doing all the three also till you are completely Gnana-nishtha. So then till you are ready, completely prepared to dedicate your life to complete Gnana Yoga. Okay. So these are our three steps, the three steps to Atma Jnanam: Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. We finished a very, very important topic with the finishing of these three sadhanas. Now our next sadhana is Bhakti Yoga. So we finished Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, and Gnana Yoga. Our next sadhana is Bhakti Yoga. And you must be thinking, ki अरे यार ये किधर से आ गया? We had said that there are only 3 steps to attaining Atma Jnanam. We have been constantly saying that there are only 3 steps: Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, Gnana Yoga. So where did this 4th step come in? Where did this 4th Bhakti Yoga come in? So don't worry. It is not an exclusive or separate course of discipline. हमें सिर्फ ये 3 steps ही करने हैं. This Bhakti Yoga, it is not different from Karma Yoga or Upasana Yoga or Gnana Yoga. But Bhakti Yoga can be called as one name given to this entire group of discipline, all the three sadhanas. Why? Because Bhakti is the common atmosphere in which all these three yogas have to be practiced. Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, and Gnana Yoga, they have to be practiced in a common environment of Bhakti. So it is important that we clearly understand Bhakti Yoga. Because Bhakti Yoga is like the sugar syrup in which the rasgullas are soaked. So these sadhanas, the Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, and Gnana Yoga, they are like the rasgullas. They have to be soaked in this chashni of Bhakti Yoga. Only then the actual purpose of it is achieved, of these sadhanas is achieved. Okay. So to clearly understand Bhakti Yoga, first we will start with the word Bhakti. Okay. What does the word Bhakti mean? So the word Bhakti, it means devotion. Devotion is nothing but love. Love directed towards a higher principle. Right? Devotion kya hai? Bhakti kya hai? It is love directed towards a higher principle. But to understand that, first we need to understand what is love. Love, which is really, really misunderstood generally. So we misunderstand affection or fondness for someone as love. We feel कि किसी के लिए to be fond of somebody is to love somebody. You know, that is why affection is called sneha in Sanskrit. Sneha. The word sneha literally means something that is greasy or sticky. Sneha, the Sanskrit, the literal meaning is something that is chikna, sticky. Something that creates attachment. That is sneha, sticky, greasy. So, and also affection is called anuraga. Raga, again, anuraga. You have raga for somebody. Okay, so sneha, attachment. That is not love, to be fond of somebody, to just have affection. See, when you have affection for some person, no, then it is attachment. What happens? You seek happiness from that person. You seek security from that person. It is transactional. तुम्हें उस इंसान के पास से कुछ मिल रहा है. It is transactional. So till the time that person comes up to your expectation, you have affection towards that person. And once the person stops providing you with whatever, security, artha, kama, once that person no longer matches your expectation, then you no longer feel that affection for that person. Then maybe you get some other emotions for that person. First it was affection, now it could be grief or anger or revenge or anxiety. But you no longer feel that affection for that person. So that sneha or affection is something that we misunderstand as love. But love is different. Love is when you are ready to give for the sake of that person. When you are ready to sacrifice, when you are ready to forgive, when you are ready to do everything for the benefit or happiness of that person, but without expecting anything in return. It is not transactional. Love is not transactional. Okay? And when this love, okay, when this true love is directed towards a higher entity, towards a sacred entity, that means some principle for which we have really high regards, okay? that is when we call that love as devotion. So reverential or respectful love can be defined as devotion or bhakti. That is why we talk about matru bhakti, pitru bhakti, because in our tradition we look upon the parents as superior, as holy, as reverential. Similarly, we talk about guru bhakti, we talk about desh bhakti, and in the same way, Ishwar bhakti. Ishwar bhakti also is nothing but reverential love. Therefore, bhakti is love towards a higher principle, and especially love towards God, towards Ishwar. And this love, it has been very elaborately analyzed in our scriptures. So beautifully it is analyzed both in its general form as love towards anyone, love towards our children, our friends, our spouse, anybody. So love in general also, and love in its specific form as love for God. Our scriptures really very nicely analyze this love. And our scriptures point out that all forms of love that a human being has, that is directed only towards three things. So basically, there are only three forms of love that exist. So they are so these are the three forms in which love exists. First is love in the form of Sukha Saadhanam. Second is love in the form of Sukham. And third is self-love, love in the form of love for one's own self. These are the only three kinds of love that you see that exist in the world. Love for Sukha Sadhanam means the instrument that gives me Sukham. I love the instrument that gives me Sukham. Then love for Sukham itself means the love for that happiness, for the Sukham, for the Ananda. And finally, self-love. There are only these three forms of love that exist. Okay, we are going to look at them in detail, but I don't want to start the topic. It's kind of long, so we'll look into these three forms of love in the next class. Okay, it is very interesting. It is very interesting to analyze your own relationships, that whether you love this person in your life as a Sukha Sadhanam, whether you love this person as Sukham, or you love this person as your own self. It is so important. It will give you so much clarity about your relationships, about so many things. It will give us so much more understanding about bhakti. कि हम क्या सोच रहे थे कि हम कितने बड़े भक्त हैं, and what were we actually doing, and what is meant by the highest level of bhakti. So let us look at this in the next class. Okay. All right. Any questions? Okay. We'll end the class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Thank you. Thank you, Lalita ji. Bye.